Careful with this girl in the Philippines. Be careful with this girl in the Philippines. The Philippines culture is much different from the West. You will come over here and think this is a little America and this and that. Not so much. So in the Philippines, Filipinas and Filipinos help their parents to pay them back for raising them. And a lot of families live on sometimes $250 a month for an entire family, especially if they live in the province or they own their home. You can get by on very little money in the Philippines if you live a very simple Filipino style of living. And I think it's beautiful how happy they are with such little earnings and stuff, and how it's funny how we're so angry and so mad at our six-figure salaries in the West, and they've got it all figured out and we don't. But with that being said, there is a situation in the Philippines that you may not be aware of if you are a Western. It's called a breadwinner. In America, we tend to lean on our parents sometimes. If our parents are wealthy, as probably 75% of the people that come out here, Western people, a lot of people's parents are millionaires or own multiple properties or certainly hundreds of thousands of dollars. And children will sometimes lean on their parents in Western countries well into old age, or 30s or 40s, or emergency loans, or help with down payments for houses, etc., etc., etc. But the Philippines is not generally like that. Now, there's wealthy family here. There's people that have, middle class-ish families, but there's generally either very poor or very rich. And the chances of you getting a girl that's very rich are probably going to be extremely low. If we're talking like generational wealth, like Pacquiao money, it's probably not going to happen. So at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, if you meet a girl, it's usually the eldest daughter. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not the eldest son. I don't know why. A lot of times there's big families out here. In America, sometimes they'll have 2, 3 kids. It could be a lot, but it's generally a low amount of children in the grand scheme of things. And in the Philippines, there could be, many brothers and sisters. And for whatever reason, the oldest daughter usually gets possibly you could call it a burden of making sure that everyone is okay. And if you meet a girl, women in the Philippines kind of skip dating and they jump straight into I want to marry you, or skip courting with foreigners, and you can have what's called an instant girlfriend. You can check out my video on that, one of my most popular videos as of late, and you'll get what's called an instant girlfriend. And when you get an instant girlfriend, a lot of times she'll be planning your wedding at the Starbucks date that you meet her at, whether you know it or not. So if she tells you that she's the breadwinner, you may want to be careful with that unless she has a couple of things in place. A breadwinner sometimes can be successful. A breadwinner sometimes can be just the eldest daughter that's delegated to make sure that everyone's okay. I don't know why all 5, 6, 7 brothers and sisters don't share the burden equally, or each bring in and make the family okay. And sometimes they do to some extent. But a lot of times Filipino women are the go-getters in the family, and they are the hunters and gatherers, and they are the financial powerhouses, usually working their way up at call centers, working for American companies, working the graveyard shift, and rising the ranks at the local American call center, American company call center, whether that be from entry level to fraud department to operations manager. If you meet a real gem, educated, super sharp girl, generally in the Philippines, from what I've seen, they try to keep you at under 40,000 pesos your entire life. 30,000 is considered a really good salary. I know girls that work at call centers that with bonuses, they're making 20. If you get to 30, you're considered highly paid, in my opinion. Many girls were very proud of their 30,000 salary that I dated before I met my girl. 35, you're on fire. 40, you might be at the ceiling. They usually keep you below that level unless you're a really intelligent woman that's like, well into her 30s perhaps, or you are a real smart person, a real leader. Then you can smash those ceilings and get to the level of like operations manager. It's not unheard of for them to make 100 or even 150 at a major United States bank in the Philippines. There are many jobs in many different fields where once you crack that ceiling and you have that resume to show that you're one of those elite level paid Filipinas, a lot of my girls' friends and my girl are in that, well over 6-figure per month range. Very rare. Still not that much money to a Westerner, But to a Filipino family that could be living on $250 a month, your daughter or son made it. If they're doing 100,000 pesos a month, that's roughly, 1,800 bucks. They're doing 150. They're the rich auntie. I mean, you are setting the world on fire. There's Filipinas that make less than 150 a year. So if you're knocking that down monthly, if you're knocking down 120 monthly, 100 monthly, I know Filipinas that work real hard and make 9,000, 10,000 pesos a month. So you can do the math on that. So in the end, what it comes down to is, if your girl is the breadwinner, whether she's making 20,000 pesos a month or 150, you, in the most polite way, you probably want to find out if she has any savings, because there's a little word that we hear when we're employees in any country, and that word is "you're fired." And if you are living paycheck to paycheck, even if you're making 150, but you rent a condo and you're giving your parents an allowance and giving your tita and your tito, your kuya and your tita and your brother and sister, putting them through school and all that stuff, and you hear those words "you're fired," and you're one of those people, like in America, a lot of people make 15,000 a month, they spend 15,000 a month, they live in Vegas, they're financing a foreign car, they're living way beyond their means, and whatever comes in goes out. So if your girl isn't sitting on a serious chunk of change and she hears those words "you're fired," guess who the money's gonna come from that next month, or who they're gonna be expecting the money to come from that month? That is the AFAM, that is you, the rich guy. So if you go pillow talking and bragging about your 7,000 a month, or even your 2,000 a month, that's Philippines rich. If a girl makes $2,000 a month in the Philippines every month, she's rich. Top 1% in the Philippines is $56,000 a year. If you make $2,000 a month, you're halfway there, you're considered rich. Like I said, most people are kept around $600 to $700 if they're, excelling at a call center, or they've really figured it out. This is aside from family money. This is aside from social media, YouTube, Instagram, paid promotions, aside from business ownership. This is just the deal in the Philippines. You won't know it till you get here and you won't understand it, but I'm telling you, these are the facts. So be cautious getting involved with a breadwinner that has no savings, even if she's high earning, because if you're married to her, you're her long-term boyfriend, and you've pillow talked about your $3,500 a month, or your YouTube channel, or your pension, or whatever, and she knows that you're a financial powerhouse over here. You could be a bum in America, or you could be a lower middle class guy in America, but if you make $3,500 a month here, you're a big dog. So you need to understand that if she doesn't have savings in place, and she hears those words, "you're fired," these jobs are tough to get. You're into an elite class of earning if you're an operations manager or something like that. And if you were to lose that job, it could be months before you regain that salary. So if you were putting out 100 a month, or 80 a month, or 70 a month and helping everybody, and you even have, 100 in the bank or something, you got about 1 month, to keep the parents and yourself and your condo and your brother all afloat. And then you're going to be obligated. So you got to be careful with that breadwinner title. I don't know why it's the oldest daughter. I don't know why that is. I don't know why the men aren't the hunters and gatherers. There's a lot of elite, rich Filipinos. There's a lot of very smart Filipinos. I love Filipinos, but this is the truth, that the eldest daughter is generally the breadwinner and is going to make sure everyone's okay. Yes, some of the other brothers and sisters can earn and help towards that, but that's just the culture. I don't make the culture. I'm not a culture maker. I'm not a policy maker. I'm a guest in this country. My girlfriend is extremely high earning. Luckily, she has some very substantial savings, and her parents are not super poor. They're not on her level. She's the only one in her family that smashed that ceiling of the, like I said, the 35-40, and she's doing multiples of that. But, the family has some assets and they're okay. And you must be careful, my friends. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all, but I've been here a couple of years. I've dated rich girls, I've dated poor girls. I'm just going to explain to you the culture of breadwinners and the caution that you may want to exercise if you're not a super generous, super rich expat, and the expectations that will be in place, God forbid, she hears those terrible 2 words, and those 2 words are, "you're fired." You have a lapse of employment. What you want to never do in life is get desperate and start taking jobs that are way beneath you and go from making 120 to 60 or 50. That's a tough situation. That's a tough gig. And desperation leads to that. Desperation leads to committing crimes in America and stuff like that. In life, foreigner, Filipina, you never want to get desperate as any human being in life, regardless of your money. And that's why having savings is one of the most important things you could ever have and instill in your children, etc., etc. Having a solid nest egg, like 6 months, a year unemployed, you're still golden, you can maintain your lifestyle. Having assets, properties, jewelry, cars, anything. It's always good to have a pot to piss in. I've seen a lot of people that make massive salaries and they hear those words, "you're fired," and they are in a seriously bad situation within 3 to 4 months. So be careful. Not saying don't date them, saying help them save up a nest egg while they're employed. A lot of Filipinos and Filipinas live for the moment. They don't think about the future as much if they're not super wealthy. Help your girl like I'm helping my girl to save money every month and stack up and have that nest egg and have assets and buy property since you can't here. And really, really try to help and make sure if you get involved with a breadwinner that she's got some savings or you're ready to be generous. I'm all for being generous. I just know some guys don't have it to give, etc., etc., etc. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I go live every day around 9 a.m. I do consultations, Jasperinthephilippines@gmail.com. And sana all.